Mga Kakampinks, nalula matapos malamang pinuri ng Prime Minister ng Vietnam, si Pbbm, matapos kabugi ng Pilipinas, ang mayamang bansang Singapore sa GDP growth. Lady supporters na nagsasabi na nag-food trip lamang si Pbbm sa Cambodia, windang matapos mapanood kung gaano siya kaproduktibo. Magandang araw bayan, magandang araw Pilipinas. Panibagong araw na naman at meron na naman tayong pag-uusapan. Ngunit bago ang lahat, kung hindi ka pa nakakapag-subscribe sa aming channel, please do subscribe and hit the notification bell para mas maging updated ka sa mga newly released naming videos. Ang malaking pagtaas ng GDP ay dulot ng mahusay na pamumuno ni Pbbm. Nagngit-ngit na naman sa galit ang mga supporters ni Lenny matapos labis na mapahanga ang Prime Minister ng Vietnam na si Pham Minh Chinh sa 7.6% growth rate ng GDP ng bansa sa third quarter ng taon. Ito ay sa ilalim ng panunungkulan ni President Ferdinand Bongbong Marcos Jr. kung saan nalagpasan nito ang GDP growth kahit ang mayamang bansang Singapore. Dahil dito, ay naghanap sila ng pwedeng maipambabato sa Pangulo upang kahit papaano ay masiraan lamang ito. Dito na nila minasama ang video ni Pbbm kung saan nagtanong ito kung ano-ano ang mga masasarap na pagkain sa Cambodia at pinalabas na food trip lamang ang sadya ng Pangulo sa naturang bansa. Ngunit lingid sa kanilang kaalaman, habang sinisiraan nila ang Pangulo ay pinupuri na pala ito sa isa sa kanyang mga meetings doon. Narito ang paninira ng mga Kakampinks at ang full documentation sa mga ginawa ng Pangulo sa Cambodia na siyang sumampal sa kanila.
Been to Phnom Penh before? Has anyone here been to Phnom Penh before? Pareho tayo.
No one, sir.
Are you have? Are you have? Ah, really? Ah, good. Oh, what's there to do? What's Cambodian food?
Cambodian food, sir, street food, sir, marami.
Marami na ako.
Will you try street food mo sa Cambodia?
I'm sure I'll try everything. What's the first time? Anyone here been to Phnom Penh?
Okay, sir, me.
Are you have? Are you have?
Yeah, yes, it's fine, sir. Okay, it's fine.
What's there to do? What's Cambodian food?
Cambodian food, sir, street food, sir, marami. Will you try street food mo sa Cambodia?
I'm sure I'll try everything that I can. That's enough. First time to come there. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to that. I always like to travel anyway. So I always end up trying everything.
Sir Pbbm, enjoy po kayo sa mga foods dyan sa Cambodia ha. Bahala na kami dito sa Pilipinas. Marami namang kamote dito, tsaka dragon fruit. All the best, Sir Cambodia trip Pbbm. We will look forward to your food review or mukbang vlog.
Ferdinand Marcos Jr. sa Phnom Penh, Cambodia upang daluhan ang mga pagpupulong sa ASEAN Summits. Alamin natin ang huling kaganapan sa ulat ni Hannah Jane Sancho.
Nagpulong si Pangulong Marcos at Cambodian Prime Minister Hun Sen upang mapalakas ang ugnayan sa pagitan ng Pilipinas at Cambodia. Ginanap ang bilateral meeting sa Peace Palace sa Phnom Penh, Cambodia, Huwebes ng gabi. Ayon kay Pangulong Marcos na napag-usapan nila ng Cambodian Prime Minister ang ilang isyu na mahalaga sa rehiyon, maging ang usapin sa tensyon sa pagitan ng Russia at Ukraine at nagpapatuloy na sigalot sa Myanmar.
The last bilateral meeting I had was with the Prime Minister Hun Sen, and we discussed at length Myanmar and the possible areas of agreement within the different member states in ASEAN, including the problems that we are feeling from the conflict in Eastern Europe between Russia and Ukraine.
Ang Pilipinas at Cambodia ay napanatili ang magandang diplomatic relations sa loob ng mahigit 6 na dekada. Samantala, una na nakipagpulong si Pangulong Marcos kay Vietnam Prime Minister Pham Minh Chinh kung saan pinuri nito ang pagtaas ng gross domestic product ng Pilipinas na may 7.6 growth rate. Ito na ang isa sa pinakamataas sa paglago sa ekonomiya sa buong Asya. Nagkaroon din ng pagkakataon si Pangulong Marcos kasama ang ASEAN leaders na mabati sa Cambodian King Norodom Sihamoni nang bisitahin ito sa Royal Palace sa Phnom Penh. Naisulong naman ng Marcos administration sa ASEAN Youth Summit ang youth empowerment.
I actually asked our youngest governor to give the message, which impressed very much the Prime Minister who was chairing the meeting, that we in the Philippines have a 24-year-old governor. And that is something I wanted to show off, that people say we are talking about youth empowerment. And I said, in the Philippines, we're doing that. Because we have these young leaders who are ready to take up the cudgels for the country.
Samantala, inilatag naman ni Pangulong Marcos at ang kanyang economic team sa ASEAN Business Advisory Council ang ilang economic policies. Kabilang na dito ang pagtaas ng digital connectivity at pagpapalakas sa cybersecurity sa rehiyon, pagpapatupad ng tax incentives, finance at labor support para sa mga micro, small and medium enterprises, at yakin ang pantay na oportunidad sa mga kababaihan para sa edukasyon, trabaho at negosyo.
The business meetings have also been very interesting to hear, not only from our businessmen, but from the businessmen from all the member countries. To watch their view, there is, again, very, very great many parallels. There are very great many parallels to the situation as they see it and as we see it. So, again, we're happy that at least we had a productive meeting once again, and again it seems that we are focusing on the right areas, trying to do the right thing.
The World Economic Forum at the same time has vowed to strengthen its relationship to Japan and China. The World Economic Forum and founder executive chairman Klaus Schwab has invited President Marcos Jr. to attend the World Economic Forum in Davos, Switzerland in January 16 to 20, 2023. The invitation was made during the breakfast meeting with President Marcos after lauding him for the strong showing of the Philippine economy. The World Economic founder told the chief executive that his attendance at the forum will be a good opportunity to let the global business groups know about the dynamism and positive development happening in the Philippines, as well as invite more investors. The United Nations has lauded President Marcos for his unwavering commitment and advocacy for youth empowerment, peace building, and security initiatives. UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres made President Marcos an example during the ASEAN-UN Summit for taking the lead in youth involvement for the ASEAN. President Marcos Baer, during the summit, the country launched a program called the Philippines National Action Plan on Youth, Peace, and Security in August of this year, which is the fourth of its kind in the world. The chief executive assured the United Nations that the Philippines will continue to strengthen its engagement with the global body. President Marcos met Chinese Premier Li Keqiang at the sidelines of the ASEAN Plus 3 summit. During the brief conversation, President Marcos and Premier Li agreed to further deepen the Philippine-China cooperation when the chief executive visits China this coming January. Speaking through an interpreter, Premier Li bared that there should be continued growth of China-Philippines relations, underscoring that what the two countries have in common far outweighs their differences, to which President Marcos agreed.
I believe there should be continued growth of China-Philippines relations. What we have in common far outweighs our differences.
I absolutely agree. And I thank you for remembering my father and his initiative to come to China. And it was he, after all, who made Philippines and China family.
The Chinese premier also lauded the president's father for taking the courage to visit China back in the 70s. Premier Li added that it was very important to China back then because Marcos Sr. was proven right where the partnership has been beneficial to both countries. President Marcos is set to fly to China in the first week of January for a state visit, Malacanang announced earlier. Meanwhile, Japan and the Philippines vowed to further strengthen their partnership. During a brief conversation between the two leaders during the sidelines of the ASEAN Plus 3 summit, Japanese Prime Minister Fumio Kishida bared he has a good conversation with the chief executive during their last bilateral meeting in September when he attended the United Nations General Assembly in New York.
I'm very pleased that we had very rich and thorough conversations back in September.
The Japanese Prime Minister added he is looking forward for advancing the cooperation between ASEAN and Japan, especially that next year will mark the 50th anniversary of friendship and cooperation. The Japanese Prime Minister also said that he is looking forward to meeting President Marcos when he visits Japan in the future. However, the palace has yet to announce the date of the chief executive's state visit.
また近いうちにまた我が国にお越しいただけることを楽しみにしております。
And I look forward to seeing you, receiving you in Japan.
President Marcos, on the other hand, supported leaders of the ASEAN in approving the membership of Timor-Leste as the 11th member of the regional bloc in a gathering for the 40th and 41st ASEAN summits. In a joint statement issued by ASEAN leaders announcing the inclusion of Timor-Leste as the newest member following the conduct of the fact-finding missions by the ASEAN Political Security Community, ASEAN Economic Community, and ASEAN Social Culture Community. According to the statement, Timor-Leste is granted an observer status and allowed to participate in all ASEAN meetings and summit plenaries. The ASEAN leaders seek to formalize an objective criteria-based roadmap for Timor-Leste's full membership based on the milestones identified in the reports of the fact-finding missions.
Anong masasabi niyo ukol rito, mga kababayan? Just comment it down below sa comment section and give a massive thumbs up kung nagustuhan mo ang paksang ating tinalakay. At huwag kalilimutang mag-subscribe sa channel na ito. Maraming salamat sa inyong walang sawang panonood.